Hey everyone, welcome back. It's good to be back. Today we are tackling something
Oh,
that I
really?
think a lot of our listeners can relate to,
Yeah.
which is this whole idea of dating insecurities. It
hmm
can be pretty scary out there.
Yeah, it is.
And we're going to go on a deep dive
Mm.
into all of the insecurities that you sent over to us so that we can kind of understand them a little bit better,
Okay.
maybe even laugh at them a little bit, but most importantly, learn how to not let them
Mm.
run the show.
Yeah, I think we all have those dating cringe moments,
Oh, totally.
like that we'd rather forget. But the thing is, instead of pushing those feelings away, it's better to kind of explore them. And the core idea in the material you've shared seems to be that these insecurities come from a place of uncertainty about ourselves.
Okay, so am I attractive enough?
Yeah.
Am I interesting enough?
Mm-hmm.
Do I even know how to date as a grown-up?
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of doubts?
Precisely. And it gets even trickier now, right? Because the research also points to social media as being a huge amplifier of these insecurities.
Ah, tell me about it. Everyone online seems to be having these amazing dates. Finding the one effortlessly, it makes my, Tuesday night microwave dinner feel pretty sad in comparison.
Yeah.
Do you ever get sucked into that vortex?
Of course, it's so easy to fall into the comparison trap. But what's important to remember is social media is often a highlight reel. It's not the whole story.
That's a good reminder. Okay, so let's get specific. The material you sent lists 5 common dating insecurities.
Okay.
You ready to unpack them?
Let's do it. What's the first one?
All right, number 1, insecurity about physical appearance. No shocker there, right?
Right.
And the source points out that, we're just bombarded with images of ideal beauty everywhere we turn. So it's easy to feel like we don't measure up.
Absolutely. And I think this goes deeper than just wishing we had, different hair or a different body type. It's about how those feelings of inadequacy can actually impact our behavior. So,
Yeah.
for example, the research talks about how people might avoid social situations altogether because they're so self-conscious about their looks.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like I'll agonize over which selfie to use on a dating app.
Yeah,
And then sometimes I just give up and I don't post anything at all.
exactly. It can be paralyzing.
Okay, what's the next beast we're slaying today?
Fear of rejection. This one's a biggie. And the material mentions how this fear can stem from past hurts or just the general anxiety of putting yourself out there emotionally speaking.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember spending hours dissecting a text message, trying to decode if I'm busy tonight really meant I'm not interested.
Right. It
It's
is.
exhausting.
And it can actually create a self-fulfilling prophecy because if you're convinced you're going to be rejected, you might act in ways that push people away. So it becomes this vicious cycle.
So how do we break that cycle?
We'll get into coping mechanisms later. For now, let's just keep naming these insecurities. What's number 3 on the list?
All right, this one is sneaky. And it hits even when you're already in a relationship,
Mm.
the dreaded comparison to others' insecurity. The material talks about how seeing your partner interact with someone else can trigger a whole storm of doubts. Like, are they more their type? Am I not exciting enough anymore?
Yeah.
Ugh, it's the worst.
And what's fascinating here is that this type of insecurity often stems from our own internalized beliefs about relationships and our worthiness of love.
So if you're already insecure, you're basically primed to see threats everywhere, even if they're not really there.
Exactly. It's like you're wearing these negativity goggles
Yes.
that distort your perception.
Yikes. I need to get a new prescription stat.
Mm.
Okay, on to number 4, feeling not enough. I feel like this one is the granddaddy of all dating insecurities.
It is a big one.
The source talks about this pressure to be perfect in modern dating, which makes us question our value as partners.
Mhm.
Do you ever meet someone who genuinely feels like they are enough?
It's a great question. And the material actually suggests that this insecurity is closely linked to our self-esteem. So if we don't believe we're worthy of love and belonging, we'll constantly seek external validation, which can be especially tough in the dating world.
It makes so much sense.
Okay.
Okay, hit us with the last one.
This one is past relationship baggage, and the material highlights how painful experiences from previous relationships can make it hard to trust new people or believe that things will be different this time around.
Oh, yeah. Been there, felt that. It's like you're walking into every new situation with this invisible shield up, trying to protect yourself from getting hurt again.
It's a natural defense mechanism,
Hmm.
but the research suggests that it can actually prevent us from forming genuine connections.
So what's the key? How do we ditch the baggage? and show up as our best selves.
Well, that's where the coping mechanisms come in. And the good news is, the material you've shared offers some great strategies for dealing with these insecurities.
Okay, I'm ready for solutions.
Okay.
Let's dive into those right after a quick break. All right, we are back and ready to tackle these coping mechanisms you sent over. Give us the good stuff.
Okay. So the first one the research highlights is deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful. It's about recognizing that insecurities are normal.
Wait, so you're telling me I'm not a weirdo for feeling this way?
Not at all. The material emphasizes that. Almost everyone experiences these insecurities, especially in the dating world. It's part of being human.
Wow, that's actually really reassuring to hear. So instead of beating myself up for feeling insecure, I should just accept it as part of the process.
Exactly. The research suggests that when we stop judging ourselves for having these feelings, we can start to approach them with more curiosity and compassion.
That makes sense. So what's next on the list of coping mechanisms?
The material then dives into self-compassion, which is about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend.
So instead of that inner voice screaming, you messed up that date.
Right.
You're so awkward. It's more like, hey, everyone has off nights. You're still learning and growing.
Exactly. It's about being gentle with yourself. And the research even suggests trying a little exercise. Imagine a friend is going through the same situation. What would you say to them? Now try saying those same words to yourself.
That's a really cool idea. I'm definitely going to try that. Okay, what else could we do to combat these dating insecurities?
The next strategy the material highlights is building self-esteem. And it's about recognizing your strength and accomplishments, both big and small.
So it's like that saying, you got to love yourself before you can love anyone else.
Precisely. And it doesn't have to be this grand sweeping feeling. The material suggests starting small. Maybe make a list of things you're good at, things you're proud of, even things you like about your personality.
I love that. It's like giving yourself a pep talk, but based on fact.
Exactly. It's about shifting your focus from what you perceive as lacking to what you genuinely appreciate about yourself.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident already. What's the next tip?
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of those pesky negative thoughts. The material talks about challenging them head-on.
Oh yeah, those thoughts can spiral out of control. Like they didn't text back right away. They must be losing interest.
Exactly. So the research suggests that instead of letting those thoughts run wild, you try to question their validity. Are they based on facts? Or just your own fears and assumptions?
This is like playing detective with your own brain.
I love that analogy. It's about becoming aware of those negative thought patterns and seeing if they actually hold up under scrutiny.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, what about when you're already in a relationship and those insecurities start popping up?
The material emphasizes the importance of communication. Talking openly and honestly with your partner about your fears and doubts can create a deeper sense of connection and trust.
That can be scary though, right? What if they think I'm being needy or insecure?
Vulnerability is key in any relationship. It's about expressing your feelings in a blame-free way and creating a safe space for both of you to be heard.
That makes sense. It's not about placing blame. It's about sharing what's going on inside your head. Okay, what's the last coping mechanism we need to know about?
This one ties everything together beautifully. The research reminds us to focus on our strengths and what we uniquely bring to a relationship.
So it's not about trying to be someone we're not. It's about owning who we are and believing that's enough.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing your own value and worth. Instead of focusing on what you lack, shift your attention to your positive attributes. And remember that you have a lot to offer.
I love that. It's like a reminder to celebrate our individuality, quirks and all.
Exactly. Now, I know we've covered a lot, but there's one more crucial aspect to touch on. Are you ready to tackle the long game?
Bring it on. We've talked about specific coping mechanisms, but how do we build that lasting confidence that doesn't crumble at the first sign of trouble?
Well, that's what we'll explore next. It's about building a foundation of self-love that goes beyond dating and permeates every aspect of your life.
Okay, so we've got all these tools to kind of handle, those day-to-day insecurities. But what about the bigger picture? How do we build that, unshakable confidence that isn't dependent on, whether or not someone swiped right?
That's where the real magic happens. The research you sent over emphasizes that overcoming insecurities, it's a journey, it's not a destination. It's about cultivating this deep sense of self-love and acceptance that radiates outwards.
So it's like those insecurities, they might always be there lurking in the background, but we learn to not give them so much power.
Exactly. It's about shifting your focus from what you think you're lacking to what you genuinely appreciate about yourself. your strengths, your values, your unique quirks.
And earlier we talked about, how social media can really fuel those insecurities
Hmm.
now that we've got all of these coping mechanisms in our toolkit. How do you think we can approach those, seemingly perfect dating profiles with kind of a fresh perspective?
It's about remembering that everyone has their own behind-the-scenes struggles. What we see online is often a curated version of reality.
So instead of comparing our, bloopers to everyone else's highlight reel,
Mm.
we can choose to engage with social media in a way that feels more authentic and less triggering.
Precisely. You can curate your own feed to follow accounts that inspire you, that make you feel good. You can also limit your exposure if it's starting to negatively impact your self-esteem.
Such good advice. Okay, I have to ask, what's been the most impactful takeaway for you from all of this research on dating insecurities?
What's so fascinating to me is how interconnected these insecurities are with our overall sense of self-worth. It's not just about dating, it's about how we view ourselves
Yeah,
in the world.
that's so true. If we're already feeling insecure, it's going to show up, in all areas of our lives, not just our romantic relationships.
Absolutely. So the key is to address those underlying beliefs about ourselves, cultivate self-compassion, and build that strong foundation of self-love.
I love that. This deep dive has been such a journey. We've kind of explored, those dark corners of those dating insecurities. We've learned these practical ways to deal with them and even discovered, how to build that lasting confidence.
And we've emphasized the importance of being kind to ourselves throughout this process. Remember, there will be ups and downs. It's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Before we wrap up, I have one final question for our listeners
Yeah.
and for myself too. If you could go back in time and give your past self, you the one who was really struggling with dating insecurities, one piece of advice, what would it be?
That's such a powerful question to sit with. I encourage everyone to take a moment to reflect on that. What wisdom would you share with your younger self?
This whole conversation
Yeah.
has been like a pep talk for the soul. I feel like I have this new understanding of those dating insecurities, and most importantly, I feel equipped to handle them, with more grace and confidence.
Remember, you are worthy of love and belonging, just as you are. Don't let those insecurities dim your light.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure diving deep into this topic with you.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel empowered to navigate the dating world with more confidence and self-love. Until next time,